Good morning, and welcome to the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. This is our regular meeting. Today is October 26th. Welcome to your boardroom. And if we would have a roll call, please.
Supervisor Bennett.
Here.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Here.
Supervisor Parks.
Here.
Supervisor Foy.
Here.
And Supervisor Long.
Here. Thank you. All right, now we will, I'd like to invite up our chaplain from the fire department, Larry Mendugo, who we have all known for years. Please come on up, Larry. Larry's volunteered from March of '96 to June of '99 for the Fire Protection District. And on July 1st, he became the Ventura County full-time chaplain for Fire Protection District in 1999, I'll say. He's provided critical incident stress management to county residents for 14 years. We've all known and worked with Larry all these years, and some critical incidences, but also just as his role of service to the Fire Protection District and to all of us. Thank you, Larry. Please come on up. Good morning.
Good morning. I was out of state for the last 2 weeks and went across the country. You know, it's you see a lot of beautiful parts in the other states, but it's always great to come home. And we have such a beautiful county here that we live in. I think sometimes we take it for granted, but we need to remind ourselves that we're very fortunate in where we live. Almighty Creator, we give you thanks for allowing us to live in this special place in your world. Your beauty in all you created surrounds us in every way we turn. Bless our county supervisors in their decisions, that they always seek and look for the good. Bless all those who come before our supervisors with concerns and issues, and that they seek what is best for all concerned. Help us to remember each day to thank you for our very lives, our families, and our friends, and that we have the ability to make someone's life a little brighter each day. Bless this upcoming election and those who vote. Help us to appreciate the freedoms we have and enjoy in our country. Bless all those who are less fortunate, the sick and the dying. We give you thanks for all that you have given us, and this we ask in your holy name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you returned safely. Now we'll rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Parks, would you lead us?
Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we have before us for action minutes of the meeting, of the prior meeting, our minutes of, do we have them? We have them, right? I thought I saw them, okay. All right. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Okay, so let's vote. And those are adopted. Thank you. Then we have our agenda review. The CEO.
Yes, Madam Chair. We have a consent agenda item on number 13. There's a revised board letter. And then on number 35, there's a date change, which will be addressed by the presenter.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda from board members or reordering? Okay. Hearing none, we need action on the agenda as revised. It's a motion to approve as revised. And a second. And please vote. And the agenda is adopted. Consent agenda items 10 through 15. Any questions on consents? Request for Any changes or questions? And an action on consent, there's a motion. Motion and a second. Please vote. And the consent agenda is adopted. Okay. Now we have an opportunity for public comments. And on the floor, we have a request for public comments, and I'll call up first to the podium, Michael Murphy. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to try and keep this together. It's personal and quite emotional. About a month ago, my 23-year-old son was admitted to Hillman Psychiatric Facility. He had broken down my wife and I's bedroom door and threatened to blow our heads off. I suggested to Ventura County Behavioral Health that my son needed to be in a lockdown facility where he'd be compelled to take his medication and attend therapy sessions. I was told by VCBH that he could only be placed there if he was conserved by the Ventura County Public Guardian. I called Silmar Rehabilitation and talked with their administrator, who offered to give me a tour of the facility and said he had a lot of patients who were privately conserved, and that my being my son's conservator wasn't a problem. He said for some reason only Ventura County Behavioral Health had issues about this, no other county. BCBH asked me to write a letter relinquishing my conservatorship to the Public Guardian's Office on 10/18/2010. I was asked by BCBH's liaison to answer some questions so the doctor could better treat my son. My answers were then used against me, and BCBH asked the Public Guardian to investigate me as a bad conservator and to file a petition for conservatorship to be transferred to the Public Guardian's Office. I met with the Assistant Administrator and Senior Deputy of the Public Guardian's Office on 10/19/2010. They concluded I was a fit conservator and that I was actually helping to take some of the load off the Public Guardian's Office, as the Senior Deputy was handling 70 cases alone by himself. On 10/20/2010, the Ventura County Behavioral Health Liaison called and said I could pick up my son. This was 2 days earlier when I was unfit to be a conservator, and yet they wanted to discharge him to me. I wonder if the Public Guardian had been conservator, if they would have just kicked him out the door to the curb. I declined to pick him up because he was still talking on the phone that his mother's body was being overtaken by someone else's soul, but it was her body, and that he needed to fill out his tax return papers, although he hadn't worked in 4 years. Later that night, my son called and said he could be released, and that the doctor said it was my call whether he was released to come home or not. I resent the doctor pitting my son against me, making me the bad guy. Maybe you should take a refresher course in Public Ethics 101. As family, friends, and advocates for the mentally ill, we all hope that behavioral health would help clear some paths, not throw up roadblocks for us and our loved ones. As I had been told by the Public Guardian's Office a couple days earlier, the County of Ventura has 10 beds contracted to Silmar, and they were all full. What distressed me the most was Ventura County Behavioral Health Liaison telling me that even if there was an open bed, VCBH only places patients there who are conserved by the Public Guardian. Does this mean my son will only get the care he needs if I acquiesce to him being conserved by the overloaded Public Guardian's Office? Does the Public Guardian's Office act autonomously, unilaterally, or are they under the health services? You may remember me from 3.5 years ago when I came before you because my son had been assaulted at Hillmont Psychiatric Facility by another patient, and it took 3 days for him to get medical care where he was diagnosed with a broken jaw. Appreciate your time and any help you can give me. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, could you tell me what your city of residence is?
Camarillo.
Okay.
I've seen you in Linda at the NAMI walks many times, by the way. Thank you.
My staff assistant is in the audience.
Joyce?
Yes.
I talked with her earlier, by the way.
And we'll follow up with the CEO's office.
Thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Murphy for bringing that to our attention so it can be checked.
Yeah, thank you. I know that wasn't easy for you to do. Appreciate you coming in to speak to us. Thank you. Bert Perillo.
Bert Perillo, resident of Oxnard, County of Ventura. I find it hard to follow the previous speaker. makes you realize there, for the grace of God, we could be in this gentleman's shoes, and I hope we take his requests very seriously, and I'm sure you will. But as a member of the public, I would like you to know that I really hope that you take his issues. Thank you. I'm here today on behalf of the Flood Zone Justice Association, which represents homeowners in the affected areas of the proposed new FEMA flood maps. We wish to thank several members of county staff for a presentation they made to our group at a general membership meeting last week. Ms. Norma Camacho, Mr. Gerard Kapusik from Watershed Protection, Ms. Sue Hughes, Ms. Sue Hughes, legislative analyst from the county CEO's office, and last but not least, Mr. Gabriel Ramirez, who without his efforts, the tremendous PowerPoint presentation would not have been possible. We learned things are moving forward at a brisk pace with respect to the mapping and the efforts to seek solutions to this major issue. As always, we offer our assistance in any way we can to help you help us. Thank you again.
Nice, and Mr. Perillo to come down and compliment staff. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Perillo.
Thank you, Bert.
Maricela Morales. Good morning.
Esteemed Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors, the Central Coast Alliance United for Sustainable Economy cause, our mission is to build grassroots power for social, economic, and environmental justice in the Central Coast of California. Based in Ventura County, the cause Board of Directors and staff are supporting County of Ventura healthcare workers in their efforts to improve working conditions for themselves and the patients under their care in the Ventura County Healthcare Agency ambulatory care clinics. Nearly 60% of the VCHCA ambulatory care clinic healthcare workers have signed cards for collective bargaining rights. The Board of Supervisors has the power to take the high road, follow the law, and direct the Human Resources Department to complete the union card check process within 30 days. On April 20th of this year, the Board of Supervisors recognized Equal Pay Day for women, including whereas women represent 50% of the U.S. workforce in over 300 occupational classifications provided by the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, women earn less in every classification, including the classifications dominated by women. CAUSE's 2010 Status of Women report documents that in Ventura County, across employment industries, there is a 22% wage gap between women and men. In the healthcare sector, where women predominate in the lowest paid healthcare jobs, the gender wage gap is higher at 29%. In addition, poverty amongst women is concentrated amongst women of color. In Ventura County, Latinas are 3 times more likely to be in poverty than white women. Approximately 90% of the 400 healthcare satellite clinic workers who are struggling for their legal collective bargaining rights are women, and most are Latina women. 6 months ago, we were inspired by the board's adoption of the Equal Pay Day resolution that recognized much must be done for women to be able to move from the financial red into the financial black. Supporting women's right to collective bargaining is a critical means to move the majority of women healthcare workers into the financial black. Today we are here to ask you to respect the majority women healthcare workers in their struggle for and their right to collective bargaining. Today we call for the Board of Supervisors' courageous action. The disproportionate poverty borne by women and people of color is a historical and present-day struggle that will not end without your courageous action. Direct your Human Resources Department to follow the card check process without delay and within 30 days, and respect the majority women healthcare workers' right to organize for collective bargaining. Thank you.
Maricela, thank you for bringing that letter to us. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I know when we get to board comments, I do have a comment that will
Okay.
relate to that.
All right. That is the last request for public comment. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak to the board? Okay, then I thank those of you who did come in this morning. Now we will move to board comments, and we'll start. Supervisor Bennett, are you ready to start?
Sure.
Okay.
Just a few things. Get an opportunity to point out that we have these cleanup days from time to time in our communities, and Satakoy had the cleanup day. There are 250 homes in Satakoy. 78 of those homes participated in the cleanup day. That's a remarkable percentage of people, and so I want to thank our staff for getting out there and making that happen. This past Saturday, we had backyard compost bins and rain barrel sale going on, and remarkable turnout that we had here at the Government Center. 550 residents were served. Sold 388 rain barrels, 364 earth machine compost bins, 156 compost turners, 130 kitchen collectors. Total, we sold 1,038 items that are green items that are good for recycling, both of rainwater and compost waste, et cetera. The other two things I would like to point out is that with this being a week before elections, we certainly are all getting bombarded with advertisements, political advertisements, et cetera. But this is the first time that we've had an election being financed the way it's being financed. And I think that we have to raise people's attention to just what is happening with campaign finance in this country. But we are now more at risk than we have been for probably 100 years at the turn of the century, of having elections literally be bought. I'll give you an example. There's an ethanol manufacturer who put up $10 million, and his only focus is to focus it on 14 senators who sit on the committee that votes on ethanol production. In an attempt to try to knock those senators out because they wouldn't go along with a bill that was favorable for them. We see it at a local level. A local school district has huge contributions being made by a company that is in a long legal lawsuit dispute with the school board and trying to influence that school board election. As of last week, that's before this week's enormous amount of money coming in, there's 40% more spending, and yet much less clarity in terms of who is spending the money at this point in time. So certainly from my perspective, I think we have to be aware of that. Democracy, I believe, is at risk when you have large sums of money being spent and people not clearly knowing where that money's coming from, or even that or even the influence of that money, what it has on the electoral process. And then finally, I appreciate Maricella's coming in about cause. We have the basic issue as to whether, certainly this board is not opposed to collective bargaining and has always been in favor of everybody's collective bargaining. The question is, who should these workers be collective bargaining with, their clinic provider or with the county? And I know that the county's position certainly has been that it's that the clinic providers are contractors of the county, and the collective bargaining ought to take place there. With that being the case, I just want to make sure that the county's position is that that's a private contractor. I want to make sure that we are meeting our living wage requirements with at the clinics to make sure that our living wage requirements as people that contract with the county need to be paying that. And so I just want to make sure that that's looked into, and we make sure that living wages are being paid for those people in that position, because if they're if this is a contract, they're contract employees, it should be covered under the living wage. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Zaragoza.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to report that last week, as I mentioned, we had a town hall meeting in Oxnard on green jobs, climate change, and the economy. And we had standing room only. I think if it had not been raining and cold and so forth, there would have been probably more people there. And unfortunately, one of the things that happened, when the library closed, one of the door closed and nobody could open it. And I understand they had another 40, 50 people outside waiting to get in to listen to the presentations. We had some excellent speakers. It was a well-balanced individuals from business and the environment. And I just wanted to thank Mike Villegas for being the moderator and our APCD head, and also Senator Fred Pavley, Bill Camarillo, Don Price, Sean Jacobson, and Rose Brands. You know, she flew all the way from San Francisco just to attend that meeting, and it was very, very successful. And I wanted to thank also the City of Oxnard and Barbara Murray from the Oxnard Library for allowing us to hold a meeting there. Additionally, I had also attended the 31st anniversary for the PAVCI Filipino officers, and I performed the induction for the new officers, and it was a great event, you know, that we had there in Oxnard. And of course, we had other meetings that it'd probably be too long to present here, be here all morning too. But I just wanted to share those two particular meetings. And then I'll also like to adjourn in memory of this individuals in this list. Thank you so much.
Any to call out there, Supervisor? You submitting the list? Supervisor Bennett? Okay, all right. Supervisor Parks, good morning.
Morning, thank you. We had a wonderful Walk the Channel Day in Casa Caneo on Saturday. Had about 75 people turn out on almost a rainy day, but fortunately it cleared enough for us to take the walk, and had wonderful presenters, including Norma Camacho from our Watershed Protection District, Sean Anderson with Cal State University Channel Islands, who talked about wetland ecology, a local environmental horticultural teacher at Sequoia Middle School who talked about wetland plants. We had some great presentations, and people were just really charged with being able to, you know, we opened the gates and they were able to walk on this very nice road that's dirt road on either side of the channel that's used for maintenance, and people really enjoyed being able to get there. It's a soft bottom creek there, so it's very green. A lot of we also had Linnea Hall, who's an ornithologist with the Western Foundation of Vertebrate Zoology, talk about the different birds out there. So it was a good commune with nature kind of day, but also talking about the benefits of having greenways where you can ride your bike or walk or jog along these areas. And this particular one connects 3 different schools, a middle school and 2 elementary schools, and actually Newberry Park High is also connected, as well as a park and a library. So that is a neat concept, one that is, we actually have some of these available in Camarillo. There's one. Simi Valley's looking at putting in one also around their channel. So it's a nice way to have kind of a dual use of our flood control channels. And actually we have an item coming before us today talking about being able to bridge one for trails. So that was a nice day. And on the same time almost in Newberry Park also there was a emergency preparedness presentation. A lot of the different organizations, you know, Red Cross and our fire department and others were out there helping the community to learn about how to become better prepared in emergencies. I also got to do jury duty last week, and that was very convenient, and being that I work here at the Government Center, it's only across the way, so did my civic duty for probably at least a year until the next one comes up. And then also we had a great trail cleanup day on over the weekend, too, where we actually, residents came together and helped voluntarily build a trail out in Santa Rosa Valley that has some beautiful view sheds. I also just ask that the board close in honor of the people on this list, and you know, talking about the elections coming up and the tremendous amount of money that is going into elections makes me think about how we need to do what we can with our election laws too, to make sure that we can at least make sure it's disclosed who it is that's funding the campaigns.
Thank you. Supervisor Ford?
Thank you. I'd like to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. Also, one of our fallen heroes from Simi Valley, Joshua Collins, he had died last week in Afghanistan by defusing a bomb. You know, he was an LAPD person who graduated from Royal High School in 2000, a young kid. So just hate to hear that kind of stuff. Also, his retirement in the Boy Scouts from Carolyn Dosick, she's our district person out in Ronald Reagan Library area, Ronald Reagan district. But what's interesting about her, she worked really hard, and she's the one who started a lot of that graffiti cleanup out there for us, and it was great to see her. And so she's going to retire and enjoy life doing something different now. So, and then also talking about campaigns, things are coming. I hope everybody's going to get out and vote. It's critical. We see a lot of things going on. our state, it's critical. I mean, I was reading something the other day that we as a state had to borrow $8.5 billion to pay our unemployment. And now our budget adds another $500 million a year in interest payments on that $8.5 billion. I think it's only supposed to last through January. So there's some additional things we need to do in this state to get ourselves under control. So we've got a lot going on, so I hope everybody gets out and votes, because there will be people that will have influence in your life, and you should have the influence of who those people are. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. I too have a list to submit to adjourn in memory, and I'd call out one in Camarillo, Elizabeth Marie Sterrett Hickey. Lifelong lover of all types of music. She was known as Betty, a member of the Nuestra Salsa group, and she performed quite often to benefit cancer research, and unfortunately it was cancer that took her life. She was an optician for over 20 years and volunteered often to help low-income clinics to help the less fortunate. So in her memory and others on this list. And I'd like to call out two things. The Ventura County Fire Department has sent out notice regarding Halloween this Sunday, and it's the annual notice to alert parents to make sure their children are dressed in bright clothing so they can be seen on the dark sidewalks and streets, and that they move through their trick-or-treating safely, and just be aware that, and for the public to be aware that it is one of those nights when there are many more children on our streets than normal, young children, so be alert to that. And the other is that on next Tuesday, the Fire Department and the United Blood Services is going to have a blood drive from 8 to 12, and it's going to take place at the Camarillo Airport grounds, just past the Fire Department's administration building. This is one of those times when you have an opportunity to support the United Blood Services, and also to support people who need what is sometimes for us just a simple gift that can make a big difference in the life of someone who is in need of blood transport and other blood services. So I need to put that up there. And our clerk recorder has put out the information regarding Election Day activities. We've all received it. That was sent out to the League of Women Voters and interested parties, members of the grand jury, and all the candidates. And it is a big day next Tuesday, Election Day, November 2nd, and polling places and all of the activity that will take place for us to have a smooth election here in this county, and and that there will certainly be open and transparent access for the public downstairs in the election division as they move through the collecting of ballots and into the evening, and with our great expectations with our new equipment, it's going to be a faster process. So the challenge is on, Mr. Lund, and I'm sure he's listening.
Well, it's one thing I've heard that he's trying to do, and I'm not sure it's 100%, but I know a lot of times in the absences we had to wait so long in between the counts. He's going to try to, on a daily basis, give us an update or something. I've heard that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
And I'm going to take just a moment as one supervisor to comment on a ballot measure. We have a very full ballot next Tuesday. And some would say it's always falls after Halloween, and that's for us to have the opportunity to understand if it's a trick or a treat. But it is a full ballot, and putting any humor aside, it is a very important, all elections are, but this one I think particularly in a variety of ways, and just encourage the voters to be informed, to read your ballot measures thoroughly, to take your time, and to vote, more than anything to vote. And I will call out one measure, which isn't normally done, but as a supervisor, I'm going to call out and ask that the voters take a real good look at Proposition 22. It is tagged as the Local Taxpayers Public Safety and Transportation Act of 2010. And I will say to you that it is a way that the League of California Cities is proposing to amend, that you would vote to amend the Constitution and to lock down without any reform whatsoever how the state, your tax dollars, are dispensed throughout the state of California. and how they're to be used. And it locks down and protects all the cities and the redevelopment agencies from having having any dollars shifted or used or flexibility with those dollars for all services that we feel important in this county. And as you know, the county services, particularly those that provide for the health and welfare and mental health services, are all our mandates as an arm of the state. And this Prop 22 further ties the hands of the legislators. It's the same piece of pie. It is now being proposed through this initiative that it would lock down that piece of pie, not giving any flexibility, any discussion, any future dialogue on what priorities are for taxpayers in this state, for those who are perhaps the most in need in this state, and it really does limit what we at county government are going to be able to do in providing services and programs. It impacts schools to a tune of $1 billion a year. It will impact public safety because we, through general fund dollars, support our public safety, and we at the county through the sheriff's office and the services we provide, so it will impact that. I think in some respect the cities have some self-inflicted wounds in that they are driven by sales tax, and they have adopted RDAs that were set up for a purpose of blight, but I think have gone on for years and years as a subsidy to development. And it consumes $1 out of every $8 of taxpayer dollars today. So it is a routine way for cities to raise funds at the expense of schools and counties. And I will close with that just to say I'd ask all voters to really take time, understand what these initiatives mean to us at the local level, to you as your taxpayer dollars are expended, and to what your priorities may be. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to our regular agenda, and the first item up.
If
Yes.
I might also note that the Star pointed out that the counties came out against Prop 25 and referred to Santa Barbara and Ventura County, but we have not taken any positions on any of the propositions.
No, we have not. Okay, what did I say? Item 20. Is that right? No, 26. I'm sorry, item 26. It is our Channel Islands Harbor. How come my agenda is showing that? The Harbor Department.
Yes, good morning, members of the board, Mrs. Robinson. Lynn Krieger from the Harbor Department. This is actually about your Fish and Game Commission and is an item that is returned to you from the July 27th board meeting. And I'll point out in the board letter, it says August 10th. No, that was the date of our study session with you. It was actually July 27th, so I apologize for that error. This actually began with a discussion among the Fish and Game Commissioners in March, just for your recall, because I know you've heard this before, about finding a way to ensure that they have some funds to distribute. The board had made a decision in July, but then wanted to revisit it for whatever reason you wish. There are 4 options here that are laid out for you for future actions of the Fish and Game Commission, and the current balance of the fund we checked is about $25,000. So unless there are questions.
It's about what?
25,000.
Are there questions at
That's
this
the total
time? We
amount.
do have a public speaker request, but are there any questions at this time on this item? Not at this time.
Thank you.
Gregory Gross. So there you are. Good morning.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Robinson. My name is Greg Brose. I'm the Chief Deputy District Attorney in the District Attorney's Office, appearing here on behalf of District Attorney Todd. First, I'd like to acknowledge the good work that the Harbor Department has done regarding this matter for a long, long time. The amount of funds that are available to the Fish and Game Commission, as noted in the Harbor Department's letter, is very variable. And right now, we've seen very significant decreases for a number of reasons, one of which being not as many wardens out in the field as we had in the past. So we're seeing a significant impact upon our ability to bring cases, because we're not getting the cases from the wardens. But the ability to do this is critical to our office in having the funding that does come from these penalties that are brought in. And we would ask the board to consider adopting option 4. The district attorney's office relies on a number of areas upon special funding from grants, from other resources. And without those special funds, it's very, very difficult from a budget standpoint to meet some of the programs that we'd very much like to do. Thank you for your consideration.
And thank you, Mr. Gross. Okay. Back up before the, back to the board. There's no further public request on this one? For the board discussion or questions? Yes.
I have found that the grants that they have been allocating have been very beneficial. There's some great school programs that they've supported, and I would like to be able to continue this. The Fish and Game Commission themselves have said they would be happy to go to a once-a-year schedule and be able to continue this. It is a minimal amount. I don't think it really has too much of an impact. And it's one of those nice things we can do for the community. It's self-funded. There's funds enough there for $3,000 a year to take care of whatever it takes staff to notice the meetings. I think that's even more than they need for if it goes to once a year. But it's a community benefit, and we're bringing a lot of programs down to children that otherwise wouldn't be able to get it. We've done some good programs and planting trees out in the National Park Service. We have a school class that received a grant that propagates the seeds from natural seedlings and goes through the whole process, and are now a nursery for the National Park Service. Another one I know about was a school garden. But to me, these are kind of things that these organizations don't have much money, so while it seems small to us, it means a lot to them. And I would really like to continue the program. I think it makes sense going, instead of having them meet every 6 times a year or whatever, down to once a year. That will help reduce the burden on staff, but I really would like to see this continue, and I think that's what the Fish and Game Commission is requesting, and I would support their recommendation.
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments in regards to doing those grants, but I think we have to understand where we're at in the economic times we're in, that this is an opportunity, if there is any income. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's much lately at all, and that we should be trying to help do the things I think that benefits the whole county, which is continue to fund as much as we can the DA. We saw last time in this board, we had to come out of one-time funds to help the DA's office, and I would think that we need to start to focus on what we need to manage as we go forward in this difficult economic times. It doesn't sound like, again, we have much revenue coming into this at all. It doesn't sound like it's going to be much more. So to my request was that we would, almost just disband this agency or this group, and really focus. Because again, if they're not going to have the money, why for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years have them meet once a year and say we don't have any money? But again, I think we have greater needs, and that's what we have to look at. We don't have the ability with the extra money anymore. We have greater needs here, and I think the DA is, we want to continue to fund the prosecutions that help all of us in this community. So I would recommend that we take on number 4 here.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'll go ahead and weigh in.
Yes.
I made the motion for us to reconsider this afterwards. In reflecting on it, I think I'm inclined to support Supervisor Parks' position in terms of the Fish and Game Commission meeting once a year. It is a small amount of money. We do have issues in terms of funding with the district attorney. I think we did a very good job in terms of funding of the district attorney last year in terms of what we ended up doing. And this is a pretty small amount of money But partially, the reason you do the fines and you collect that money is because you do want to do some environmental restoration for damages done to the environment, et cetera. And so this strikes me as an appropriate balance. The only issue I have some concerns with is if we did have a windfall. I'm not sure that I'd want to allocate a windfall this way. And so what I would like to do is just add to this that if we ever find ourselves in the spot of having the revenue exceed $100,000, that the whole thing come back to the board for the board to be able to look at. So I'd like to hear from everybody and see what everybody's thoughts are in terms of this.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I also like to keep the commission to meet once a year, and I think it's I know said is for a community benefit if you do get those grants, that will benefit the community, and of course if we do get where we have enough dollars to give more, I think would be a benefit to not only the community but also to the DA. But I would at least once a year keep the commission to meet to look at grants if there is any money. I know currently there isn't any. But
well, and with the funding allocation of the Fish and Game is recommending.
That's right.
You're saying.
Mm-hmm. So I would support that.
Okay. I'll just comment, and then we should probably take some action here. I don't have a commissioner at this point appointed to the Fish and Game. It's not an easy one to find someone. I think it's going to be challenging to find someone interested in serving just once a year. Maybe it'll be easier. I haven't extended the search yet. But I think the important part is that we always keep a nexus to the operational side of the purpose of the Fish and Game Commission and the prosecutor, the DAs, and the funds that are used again have a nexus to those fines that are collected. So, and I think rather than have something come directly to the board for debating or trying to could be very challenging small amounts of money. I'm good with staying with the commission. I think it's something that if we find though that we're having difficulty with getting a representative body there to act, then we'll have to bring it back for reconsideration. And I also agree with making sure that we have support for the district attorney's operations in respect of the services rendered. So I'm open to your suggestion if you're looking at if you have something that's well over 100,000 or over 100,000 that comes back to the board for consideration.
Okay, so I'd make the motion that we go with the Fish and Games. We have a Fish and Game meet once a year. Go with Fish and Games funding recommendation up to $100,000, and if we ever have funding over $100,000, it comes back to this board for consideration.
There's a motion on the floor with a second. And that passes with a 4-1 vote. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Krieger. All right, item 27, Healthcare Agency. This is a, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Robinson, Patrick Zarate, Ventura County Alcohol and Drug Programs, Behavioral Health. And you have before you a letter for your consideration to provide 2 enhancements to alcohol and drug program residential services. The first one is to utilize available federal block grant money, SAFD money, to enhance the program called Kepra House, which is a residential mail program. We're very pleased with this facility, with the results that we're getting, and as you may be aware, we recently published a study along with UCLA's Integrated Substance Abuse about the detoxification project that your board generously provides funding for. And in that study, it's clear that clients that have access to residential services once they have detox are going to be much more likely to succeed in the community post-discharge. So we have a really good synergy with the KEPRA program, and we'd like to see another 25 clients throughout the year get service there. Additionally, the Ventura County Medical Resource Foundation awarded some funds to the courts, and they have an unspent amount around $5,500 that they would like to move over to alcohol and drug programs to the Prototypes Women's Residential Program in order to provide an enhancement to length of stay for women and children in that residential treatment program. This would go to specifically help with medical support services and case management once their treatment episode has mostly been concluded. So I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions?
It's nice to see programs that are effective, moving and growing, particularly when it can do things like reduce recidivism in our jails and help people get on the straight and narrow. I'll
Agreed,
go ahead
thank
and
you.
move the recommendation.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the recommended actions. Please vote.
2 good programs. Keep it up.
I think that
Thank you.
recidivism at Prototype is remarkable, that they've had that great
45%
success. So
reduction.
good programs both, and that passes unanimously. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay, item 28, Public Works.
Morning, Chair Long, members of the board. Mrs. Robinson, for the record, I'm Dave Fleisch, Director of Transportation for the county. What you have before you this morning is an application in response to a mini call from the Ventura County Transportation Commission doing an expected extension of the Safety Lieu Act, which stands for the Safe, Accountable, Flexible, and Efficient Transportation Equity Act. I guess they needed to make it sound good. A legacy for users. This potential extensions through September 2011, it expired in 2009. It was extended to December 31st of this year, and we expect an additional extension. So that's just 1 year as opposed to the normal 6 years that we would do a call. That's why this is considered a mini call. The submissions for this were due last Friday, so technically you would call this a ratification as opposed to an authorization. However, we are aware of the process that VCTC goes through, and this isn't actually going to be looked at until next week for the first time by a working group. It will follow that in mid-November to the Transportation Technical Advisory Council and actually come to the full commission in December. So should your board decide to make a change to anything that's here, we can make a resubmission to them prior to the first look. Another important thing to note on this, in previous years, we've had more than one submission come from the county to VCTC, things coming either from other agencies who might qualify for funding here. This year, we've consolidated those into one submission, and you'll see in here an application, as part of this application, a project from the GSA Parks Department as well. And so our feeling was it would make more sense to take one consolidated list to VCTC to have them to consider what the county's complete priorities are. So that's what you have in front of you. You'll note also there's 2 separate lists. There's an STP and a CMAQ list. The STP list are projects that we're proceeding with now under design and expect those to go to construction. And this is just an ability to augment the funding so that we don't have to take them all out of the road fund. The CMAQ projects, we would wait until we actually got this funding or additional funding before we would be awarding them for construction. With that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. It is something that the board passed, I think, with our general plan update last time, that when we have the opportunity to widen our roads a little bit to allow for a greater bike lane, that we have that additional width. So it's nice to see that one of the projects here includes doing just that. Also noting the overcrossing, the pedestrian and bike overcrossing for the Ojai Valley Trail. It's nice to see, too, the county is hesitant to take trails under its wings, new trails, that when we do have trails, that we have funding sources out there that can help to make them better trails. And I know we have another, like I said, item coming on the agenda regarding these kind of infrastructure improvements that will help people to leave the car and get exercise and maybe even use it for commuting. So I particularly like those projects.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, pleasure of the board.
I'll go ahead and move the item.
There's a motion. I'll second it. We'll move ahead. A vote. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 29 is our amendment to an existing contract with CFMG. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mrs. Robinson, Linda Oxner, Commander with the Sheriff's Department. I'm here before your board to request that your board approve an amendment to the existing contract with California Forensic Medical Group and authorize the sheriff or his designee to sign the amendment to fund the continuation of providing HIV medication for the inmates currently in the Ventura County Jail. The funding for this reimbursement has been discontinued by the state, and the CFMG and the sheriff will partner to continue the program in order to fulfill the philosophy of a continuity of care for the inmates who are in our jail. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Do we know what this costs us? What the real cost is?
The annualized cost, depending on the amount of inmates that are in our jail, could be up to $80,000. CFMG has agreed to commit to funding the first $30,000, and we will take care of the rest for this fiscal year.
And the reason the state stopped their funding?
It's not in the governor's, it was not in the governor's budget this year. The program was eliminated.
So you believe this is what we need to be doing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think frankly it'd be immoral if we didn't. You've got people who are sick and in jail, and we've had a very strong program in this county for years that really steps in to help folks with HIV and AIDS, and I think that's a philosophy we've held strong, and I appreciate the sheriff stepping up to continue that and continue the support while they are in jail. I didn't read the governor's message. He usually puts a message when he beat in. I didn't see one. That doesn't mean there wasn't one, though. I might have missed it, but because it's in the grand scheme of things, it was a small amount of funds. But anyway, I would like to move the recommended action.
I'd second it. Can I also ask, I know that we're seeing a decline, fortunately, in AIDS in our county. Are you seeing that same statistics in the jail?
Unfortunately, I can't respond to that.
But that is right. We are seeing a decline.
I can get that information for you and let the board know.
And some of that is that there's better medicines, better treatment, and so. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, item 30. This is Supervisor Parks.
So we found this plastic material that you can scrunch together really well, and a 70-ton tank can go over it, and locomotives can go over it, and this is being used as bridge material by the military. And while we haven't had one yet in our county, we now have a nonprofit organization that has willingly stepped up to actually purchase it, install it, and put it across one of our channels in the Santa Rosa Valley so the public can use these crossing of part of the trail system out there in Santa Rosa Valley. We just found out that this material also just got featured in, I believe it was Newsweek magazine. They featured it on their October 18th edition as one of their top green ideas that have come out. It is a green project because it is it's a new use for recycled material, and I think when we find, if we move forward and install this, allow for its installation, it might be something that our Public Works Department might consider too, as we occasionally have a need to put in some bridges over creeks and such. So what I have before you is a request that has been vetted through our Watershed Protection District and our CEO's office and our attorney's office to approve and authorize our chair to enter into an agreement with Santa Rosa Valley Trails Incorporated to allow them to span this county watershed protection district right away with a bridge to allow for trails. Just noting, 2 items ago, we were using all government funds to help with a trail overcrossing. This is being done with nonprofit funds from the Santa Rosa Valley Trails Incorporated, and the president of that is here, Mark Burley, who can speak to that too. He may have a card in, as I see, so. I just, certainly something I very much support. I would like to be able to assist where we can, if we can waive the cost of encroachment permits, for example, things to make it easier, because I think this is going to set an excellent example that we are going to want to emulate in our county. And with that, look forward to hearing what Mr. Burley has to say too.
Are there questions at this time on this item? Shall we hear from Mr. Burley first? Mr. Burley, and we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mark Burley. I'm president of Santa Rosa Valley Trails, Inc. Just want to give you a little history on our group. We were founded about 6 years ago in order to become a 501c3 charitable organization, which in 2006 we were given that status by federal government. And we then started in 2007 in business, so to speak. What we were there for was to try and create opportunities to have trails and trail easements that could be placed on private property and or public property, because there was no entity that was able to take trails in the Santa Rosa Valley. The county is not comfortable with taking on that liability. So we carry a liability policy, currently $4 million liability policy, and we have taken a number of easements over private property in the Santa Rosa Valley. We have also worked with COSCA and adopted one of their trails in the Santa Rosa Valley, and also proposed other trails. In fact, the trail that was just made a week ago, that was a proposal by Santa Rosa Valley Trails, Inc., and was done by volunteer work from both the Santa Rosa Valley and from Thousand Oaks annual work day. In addition to that, we've also created the first trail plan or map of the whole of the Santa Rosa Valley, which is now in the process of going through the Resource Management Agency in order to hopefully be adopted by this board at some time in the future as the official trail plan for Santa Rosa Valley, and that actually came through here a little while ago and is continuing through the work. So this particular bridge is a bridge that we're wanting to put in because the trail got washed out at the end of the flood control district channel. It had been there for many years and got washed away, and consequently horses were having to go over the road bridge, which is a sort of a dangerous situation because the the horses are right next to a 40-foot drop on one side and cars on the other side. So the proposal is to put this bridge in at the end of the watershed protection district over the U channel. And I would just like to add to what Supervisor Parks said, that this material has already been approved by the Building and Safety Department. We provided them with all the paperwork that was necessary, including tests by the Army Corps of Engineers and various universities. So they have received all of that, and they have approved the use of the material for this bridge. So I think it'll be kind of interesting. This will be the first one of its kind in California. My bridge engineer was like very excited about using this, because it is a way of making these kinds of recreational bridges for less money and having the same strength. So I'm available if you have any questions either about this particular project or about our organization.
Questions? Supervisor.
I appreciate the opportunity to see the public want something and wanting to pay for it. That's great.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things about being a charity is You can get to be a charity if you can relieve the burden of government. That's one of the things that you can get to do. So I'd like to think that we're hopefully doing that, and we don't come whining to you for. We just would like to be given the opportunity to help ourselves.
Well, that's great. Now, when this bridge goes in, do we have a maintenance issue that you're going to take care of, or that
there are certain amount of there should not really be any maintenance per se. There may be some cleanup involved, but already with the building and safety has required us to have 2 inspections a year, and we haven't quite finished getting through with the watershed protection district on what their requirements will be for us. But yes, there will be certainly inspection issues. And I actually put in another bridge, a trail bridge, earlier on private property that was over. It was actually not on their property, so it didn't have to come to the board. But we have, with that, we have to have a clean up and make sure. One of the issues is they want to make sure that horse manure doesn't go down into the watershed.
Sure.
So,
now, is that something that you're going to do?
Yes, our group would handle that. Yes.
Okay, great.
I'd point out that Exhibit 1, which is the agreement, requires the Santa Rosa Valley's Trails Incorporated to solely bear all costs of the construction, maintenance, repair, and removal of permanent facilities within district right-of-ways. So that's part of the agreement before before the departments were satisfied with this.
Other questions? I have a question, Mr. Burley. How 6 years Trails Inc. has been in place, and you have how many members?
We have we don't have membership. There's different ways of having an organization. We don't have membership per se. We have sponsors. So people who agree to pay each year, and so they sponsor at a certain amount. So we have approximately 30 to 50 sponsors who give money each year, and we sort of put our fundraising out in response to what we're doing that year. Okay. So we have a certain amount of obvious expenses such as insurance that are required, which actually is not that huge amount. But then when we have a special project like this, we've been collecting money this year and done some special fundraising in order to pay for this. So
But you have a board of directors.
We have a board of directors, a 6-man board of directors,
formation,
or 6-person board of directors, should I say. And we also are supported by, to some extent, or financially they support us, Santa Rosa Valley Riders, which is a group of about 80, a club of about 80. They're a club, they're not a non-profit organization. But they provide us funding, they provided some funding for the bridge, and they're one of our trail angels, as you can see in the project, in the brochure you have there.
Okay, very good. Yes.
I'm sure I think the important thing is that you can install it and maintain it. I think the maintenance is the key, because once you build something, you're going to maintain it, and that's crucial, I think.
Absolutely. As I said, we have taken over the maintenance of a Costco trail already. That's one of our projects, which is, we don't own that trail, but we have agreed to maintain that, and we are maintaining that under the Costco Adopted Trail program. So we're used to doing maintenance, and we have an annual trail work day for sort of improvements and special things. But month to month maintenance, we would do inspections and so on, that kind of thing.
And Madam Chair, then the watershed staff is going to inspect the bridge, on a yearly basis, or?
Well, we have to provide reports on our maintenance and on the bridge, and then according to building and safety, we'll have to provide a report twice a year to them too. So I think both sides of the coin are going to have to get reports from us. I don't know that they actually will send people out themselves, but we'll have our bridge engineer go and check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of Mr. Burley?
I think it sounds like a great idea. I appreciate this. The idea is that, as you know, funds are tight for all of us, and having to maintain it is a big issue. But I think it's great that you're doing it, and I think it's great for the community. So as long as everybody feels comfortable from Jeff's standpoint and anything else, that's key.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just want to say that this is just another, I mean, there are a lot of communities out there, but there are few communities that have come together like the Santa Rosa Valley community has. I mean, just over and over again. So I'm just really impressed with the community's willingness to step forward and try to make things work for each other. And this is just another example. We've often said here, I remember when we had the Oakview Park and Resource Center going forward and the citizens decided to tax themselves for it, we said, government works best when it helps people help themselves. And so we're not having some people come to us with their hand out saying, hey, take care of us. They're saying, help us, help ourselves. And just another example of you doing that. So I want to compliment you and the rest of the community for another example of that.
Thank you very much, and we'd like to just say that we appreciate the consideration we've got from the Watershed Protection District and from the Building and Safety, and they've been very helpful in helping us move forward with this.
Thank you, Mr. Burley.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions I have, not of Mr. Burley, but I believe that legal counsel has reviewed this,
Yes, we have.
and there's no such thing as an ironclad protection from the county on this, but at this point, we have at least established that the Trail Inc. will be the responsible party on liability.
Yes, and I think it needs to be pointed out that this agreement contemplates another step, which will be the issuance of the permits, and there will be conditions imposed with the permits, and we're satisfied from the legal perspective that the risk can be handled through the permitting process and the conditions, but that will have to be managed by the Public Works Agency to make sure all of that is in place. This agreement today basically more or less is just a waiver of the normal rule that an encroachment permit of this type can only be issued to a public agency, and your board, by adopting this, is allowing these permits to be issued to a private entity, but the conditions still have to be set out in the permit, and that will include insurance and all the other issues to protect the county.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question perhaps for Mr. Pratt, and it just may be a rhetorical question, but the concern with precedence of taking this action. I fully appreciate the community stepping up and saying we're willing to take on this nonprofit, or have the nonprofit take on this project and provide this. It is just a question of have any other areas you see in the county where this same request may come, challenges with that?
Good morning, Chair Long, board members, Mr. Robinson. For the record, Jeff Pratt, the Public Works Agency. The precedent that this might set is certainly at your board's pleasure. We feel like we've gotten an adequate level of protection here, and the encroachment permit will provide your board with an adequate level of protection. And this does seem in keeping with your board's philosophy about multiple uses of these facilities rather than sitting around. I'm not aware of anybody that's knocking at the door to do something like this, another private or nonprofit, but certainly we'd be trotting it back to your board if they came.
And just generally would expect we'd have a similar, we'd ask for a similar structure. I mean, we're not just going to open the floodgates here. Well, so to speak, if we need to make that comment, it's not that I'm anticipating, it's just always that concern. So, all right, Mr. Pratt, thank you.
If I just, if for some reason something happened to the Santa Rosa Trails, is this a heavy maintenance situation that you see out there?
What we'll do is, in the encroachment permit, we'll ask that they post a bond. The bond will have sufficient capacity to remove everything that they've put in place. And so we hope that will be net zero to the district.
That's fine. Great. Thanks.
Okay. Very good.
I'd like to point out, we're also dealing with a community that we've had a good working relationship with, who's followed through on everything else. So if we needed money for the stoplight, they did it, that kind of thing. So we've got a track record there that certainly gives me some comfort.
And to me, I feel like this is it's very novel in the sense that we're going to be the first in the state of California with this, but that it's a proven building material used for M1 tanks and locomotives. You know, if they can handle it, certainly it can handle a horse and people walking across it too. And also that it's a green project. You know, I think that has a lot to say for it too. If you have Newsweek magazine nationally recognizing Axion, this company, for this new structure type of material, I think that says a lot for Ventura County, that we're kind of paving the way for using green materials in our construction. And I do think we'll probably find, we know it's cheaper and it's as strong if not stronger. I think we'll find other uses for this. And I know, I think the city right now is looking at putting a bridge in the same vicinity for a creek crossing right next to Santa Rosa Park. So I think we have other opportunities for this. And
Can we condition it to no M1 tanks?
no M1 tanks or locomotives here in the Santa Rosa Valley, but I'll go ahead and move that we do this agreement.
There's a motion to adopt the recommended action and a second. Please vote. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Burley.
Thank you.
All right, board members, item 31 is our correspondence. Motion and a second to receive and file. Please vote.
And Madam Chair, we can't do Wakai yet until
No, we cannot.
14 minutes.
Yeah. Please vote.
Can you magically change the time there, Mr. Wakai?
Please vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, really.
They messed up.
Okay, then we can get a little break here. That passes unanimously, and our 10 o'clock time certain, which will take place in 12 minutes. So we'll get a little break. Thank you all. Take a break. Yay, Roberta, break. First 10 o'clock time certain, and I believe it's Supervisor Zaragoza is going to present this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we have Ted Wakai here with us today, and we have a resolution for the Board of Supervisors recognizing Ventura County Assembly 135 Society of American Magicians. And whereas this recognition serves to celebrate the contribution by Ventura County Assembly 135 of the Society of American Magicians to the residents of Ventura County for more than 20 years. Whereas Ventura County Assembly 135 Society of American Magicians has provided entertainment to hospitals, to schools, to churches, community, and county-based events, and many charitable organizations. And whereas the Ventura County Assembly 135 Society of American Magicians culture and tradition have brought wonder and excitement to the residents of all ages and backgrounds in this county. Now therefore, let it be resolved, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors takes great pleasure to recognize October 2010 as Magic Month in Ventura County. And this is presented on this 26th day of October, and I'd like to present Mr. Wakai. And I'll go down and give him this commendation, and he's got a little show that he wants to share with us. I'll go down there and give him this recognition.
Good morning.
Morning. You know why we consider October as National Magic Month?
Harry Houdini.
Well, the great Houdini was born in October, and another great magician born in October. Yours truly. In fact,
Happy birthday to you.
a guy who was named after me, President Teddy Roosevelt, was born on my birthday, October 27th. That's tomorrow, so remember that.
All right.
And it used to be called Navy Day, but somehow they dropped the moniker for Navy Day, October 27th. And of course, if you want to know why this get-up, well, this is called the Cat in the Hat. And the guy that wrote it is Dr. Seuss. And his name is Dr. Theodore Seuss, named after me.
Let me give you this before you give us our demonstration. You want to take a picture? Thank you. And so you have a little demonstration you want to give?
I'll demonstrate how great Houdini is.
Is that going to be Mr. Foy? You going to do something with him? Or?
Oh, it might.
Okay.
Marvelous.
I'm going to make a demonstration of how to bake a cake. And this is going to be a sponge cake, okay?
You watch him, Leroy. I don't know if you can move to the microphone. Yeah,
Here's the
there you go.
recipe. Sponge cake, 1 cup flour, 1 cup milk, 1 night salted, 1 quart shortening, bake 30 minutes at 340 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you wait 30 minutes? Anyway, this certified Wakai is a charter member of the Court on Blues, Culinary Arts Institute of America. Yeah, here's the Court on the Blues, okay? Okay, what we need first here? Cup of flour, right? Here's a cup of flour. And next we need an egg, folded, right? So here's an egg, we're going to fold it. And we need some shortening, right? You can always use oil for shortening. So we can use oil, and we shorten it like that, right? And where else we're going to go? Oh, yeah. We're going to need some milk. Let's see. You can always use condensed milk, right? Get milk. It's from this, isn't it? And let's see. You can always use evaporated milk too. It is evaporated, right? But if you don't have evaporated milk, you can always use powdered milk. You don't want powdered milk to stand around too long because they get moist and they harden. And of course you have to use the water for it. Of course, you need some fuel, right? Where's the fireman?
Where's Chief Roper?
This is a sponge cake. Is this a sponge cake?
Oh, it's so good.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much.
5 minutes up.
Your 5 minutes are up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We thank you.
Put your hands together for Ted.
You have a great birthday tomorrow. You have a wonderful birthday tomorrow, Ted. Okay, thank you. It's our yearly magic show. Okay, very good. Thank you again. And now we'll move board members to item 17, which is our other 10 o'clock time certain, and it is an opportunity for us to get the results from our 2009-2010 United Way campaign and welcome our campaign committee for next year. And this will kick off the official Ventura County United Way campaign. And I'm very pleased to have our leaders of this year's campaign and next year's campaign, but most importantly, the leader of the United Way, Dave Smith. If you'd please step forward. Thank you. We have a great tradition in this county. County employees have been strong supporters of United Way campaign for decades, and we have always enjoyed coming into the boardroom with an announcement of the successful campaign, the kickoff for next year, and to make sure that we continue to support the United Way, that is that grand umbrella of community that really helps all of us in the county in many ways, the unity in community, and appreciate, Dave, both you being here and your team, and give us the report.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the board, Mrs. Robinson. It's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to meet with your body. I can't say, I'm still a little bit, boy, I've never followed a magic act before. It's changed my pace of presentation significantly, but I'll try to recapture myself. This is an exciting time for United Way. We're pleased with the ongoing support of the County of Ventura, and I know that we're going to share some results with you in a minute, but the fact is the county support every year is the highest level of support that United Way receives in the community. And because of your support, we're able to be involved in a number of activities that are making a very significant difference in the lives of Ventura County residents. And I want to just touch on a few of those quickly. Some of the things that we're particularly proud of today, where United Way is making a real difference, is our partnership with Interfaith Children and Family Services and First 5 Ventura County in the 211 program, our volunteerventuracounty.org volunteer network, the Earned Income Tax Credit Program, helping emancipated female foster youth through our United Women's Leadership Council program, helping young people in the community through the Young Leaders Society, working with First 5 Ventura County on the Born Learning campaign for 0 to 5, very important for us, and partnerships with organizations like Food Share, the Ventura County Dental Society, First 5, and others all across the county. We're literally making a difference in the lives of thousands of residents every day of the year, and we've been doing that for 65 years. I had the privilege to be here just over a month ago when you so graciously cited United Way for its 65th anniversary, and through those years, United Way resources have truly made the difference in this county, but it only happens because of your support. And I applaud the associates in the County of Ventura who work with you on a daily basis to make a difference in the community, and really thank you and applaud you for your support of the United Way and the work that we do in the community. So I'd like to introduce Eve Liebman, who is the United Way Campaign Division Director overseeing the County of Ventura campaign, and I know she has some presentations and some results to share with you today. So again, thanks very much for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome. Eve. Welcome, Eve.
Good morning, members of the board, Ms. Robinson. Eve Liebman, Campaign Division Director with United Way of Ventura County. I'm delighted to be here to present a lovely plaque to the donors of the County of Ventura campaign, which we successfully raised generously over $170,000. And so I have this bag, and this bag has a lot of stuff. I don't have magic tricks, I promise. But I have a lovely plaque to be presented to the County of Ventura, which says, "Join hands, open your heart, lend your muscle, find your voice." This is presented to the County of Ventura in recognition of the leadership and outstanding support of United Way of Ventura County. And your support has been just amazing and extraordinary over many, many years. And I'm proud to run the County of Ventura United campaign. I'm also delighted to work with Paul Grossgold, our co-chairs, and Jeff Pratt this year. I also want to recognize especially also Christine Cohen and Susan Martin Bowers for also processing all the thousands of many pledge cards that come in throughout the year to support the United Way programs as we focus on education, income, and health. Those are such important factors, and the financial support that you provide is what supports those programs and how important it is to our community here at large. I also want to take this opportunity to give all of you on the board our famous logo, Live United, a special United Way t-shirt for all of you. This is a little gift for all of you to wear when you're gardening or whatever you're doing. So we thank you very, very much. And at this time, I would like to bring forward, Paul Grossgold is not here today because he had a new granddaughter, and he's Director of General Service Agency, and it's my pleasure to work with him. But I'd like to introduce Jeff Pratt, who's the Director of Public Works. Jeff, would like to come up, say a few words, and this is for you, the board members. Thank you so very much for your support. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eve.
Good morning, Chair Long, board members, Ms. Robinson. For the record, Jeff Pratt with the Public Works Agency, co-chair in training for the United Way campaign. As Eve told you, Paul couldn't be here. I'm sure he would have liked to. He's on his way back from Philadelphia after visiting his first grandchild, a new grandchild. I get the fun part of this. I get the poster awards. But before I get to that, there's some special recognitions I think really need to take place. One of which is Renee Crutcher. If she'd please stand up just for a moment. Renee is a colleague of Paul Grossgold's, and she's the one who did all the communication coordination, meeting setups, making sure we were where we needed to be when we needed to be there. And without her, none of this would be possible. I'd also like to thank the committee members. There are 24 committee members representing the various agencies and departments around Ventura County. I'm not sure how many are here today, but if you would stand up if you are here, be recognized. These are the people who take the message back to county staff and are responsible for generating that outpouring that you see. As you know, Eve said last year's efforts were over 170 grand. We hope to repeat that performance this year. And to that end, Eve is going to be meeting with the various agencies in the coming weeks through December and getting the message out. Now, on to the fun part of this, the poster winners. I understand that you all have the posters in front of you. I'm going to do this a little. Oh, have you handed them out yet, Roberta? Or getting? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, there's only one copy. You're going to be seeing them as we announce.
I'm just going to hold it up.
So I'm going to do this a little bit differently than we did last year, in that I'm going to ask them all to come up individually, one at a time, but may move things on a little faster. As you know, there's two categories for the poster contest. One is youth and the other is adult. The adults are, of course, county staff members, and the youth are the children of county staff members. You can place, there are 3 places in each of those categories, first, second, and third, obviously. Third place, $25 award, second place, $50, and first place, $100. So with that, I'm going to get right to the poster winners, and the first winner I'm going to announce is in the youth category. The third place winner is Jasmine Betka. She is the daughter of Terry Betka in the assessor's office, and that's her poster. Jasmine here? Oh, yeah, come on. You got to stand on the youth side. Maybe you want to take that poster and hold it. We'll get a picture in a moment. Third place in the, thank you. Third place in the adult category is Mr. Ted Hernandez with Public Health. Is Ted here today? Doesn't look like it. Second place, that's very nice, yeah. Second place in the youth category goes to Haven Davis. She's the daughter of Abigail Davis, GSA. Okay, second place in the adult category goes to Alan Brown with RMA. Okay, for grand prize, first place in the youth category, it goes to Chris Keel, daughter of Joanna Keel, CEO's office. And I believe Chris was a winner last year, placer last year as well. And first place in the adult category goes to Jamie Masswright from the Ag Department. Straight. Hand them out now. If you want to hand them out, So Eve's going to hand out the checks, and that concludes our presentation. I don't know if you'd like to have a picture with the plaque and the poster winners or not. We've got some photographers in the crowd.
I think there was a little bit of magic there. That looked good, yeah.
David, you want to be in? So should we, I guess we need to bring you guys over.
We'll just kind of do this and then
That's not right. Yeah, thank you. No, I'm
Can I have you guys move this a little bit? Yes, move. Squeeze a little bit more over here. We're all family. And then, where are the poster winners? Can I have them? Show your posters. Yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more, please. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey, thanks, Kathy.
Everybody that's here, the representatives, to stop in the lobby and get I have copies of the posters to be taken back to their department.
Sure.
Okay, Dave, thank you. Everybody who's here, the poster folks, if you'd stop in the lobby, they have posters and pictures and things for you. And thank you all. Jeff, thank you.
Thank you.
In training, you're in charge now this time, right? And Mr. Powers, to acknowledge as, are you still chair of the United Way Board?
Past chair.
Past chair. Okay, thank you for being here. Dave, Lee, everyone, thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to thank Dave and Mr. Powers and all of United Way staff and all are the staff of Ventura County that contributed to United Way, and thank you so much for your good work, Dave, and also to the United Way Board and all the county employees for their contributions. Thank you so much. And the good posters. Thank you.
It's close enough. 10:30. 10:30 time certain. Let's go back here. Give me a minute to get to our 10:30 time certain is item 18, and it is a presentation from Supervisor Bennett. Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you very much. This is a presentation honoring Angelo Spandrio for his generous, dedicated efforts to regrowth and preservation of native oak trees in Ventura County. And could you please come on up to the front so we can properly recognize you while we read this resolution? And go ahead. Is that your wife with you? Yes. Great. Have her come down, and you can be right up here. We have a feeling you do some of this work also, right? There you go. Go ahead, right in front of the podium. It would be great. This is a real pleasurable resolution to read, and look forward to the board hearing this, but whereas oak trees are a native species of Ventura County, admired for their graceful beauty and ability to grow to great size in our arid climate, and oak trees provide shade, habitat, and food for birds and animals, the urban communities of Ventura County are slowly losing native oak trees. Locally produced oak seedlings are the most likely to survive to maturity. Angelo Spandrio has grown over 1,300 oak seedlings and offers them free of charge to willing planters, and has worked with local organizations to restore the urban forests of the Ojai Valley and Ventura County. Angelo Spandrio's careful cultivation of both live oaks and valley oaks assures a ready supply of seedlings that are in excellent condition and maximize the likelihood of successful regeneration of oak trees. Citizens can aid in providing the next generation of Ventura County oak trees by obtaining seedlings from Mr. Spandrio. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors thanks and commends Angelo Spandrio for his generous and dedicated efforts to assure the longevity of Ventura County's oak tree population. And this is somebody that many generations from now really will be needing to thank. It takes a while for these oak trees to grow. We won't see as much of it, but certainly 150 and 200 years from now, there'll be people that really benefit from the great work that you've done with this. So thank you very much. I'd like to bring this down, and if you have any sage pieces of advice for us about oak tree preservation in Ventura County, we'd love to hear it while I bring this down.
I think probably the biggest problem is, especially in Ojai, we think we have lots of oak trees. Drive up to Ojai and there are oak trees all over the place. Well, I'll give you a good recent example. I was contacted by the groundskeeper of the Crotona Institute, and I think they have around 100 acres or so just behind Vaughn's Market in Ojai, and a lot of that land has been stripped, has been cleared of trees. So he came by the other day and he picked up 100 seedlings to start reforesting some of the grounds at Crotona. And I think there are these pockets in Ojai and certainly the hillsides in Ventura that have been stripped of trees that could all use a little replanting here and there. So that's what I'm up to. So the seedlings are there, they're free, and the acorns are falling now, so we'll be doing it again this year. And the Ojai Land Conservancy has their preserve next to the Nordoff High School. That has also been stripped of trees, and they took a 50 plants the other day to start their replanting program there. So we have these pockets, and I think something really near and dear to my heart is if we can establish this sprouting program in our schools, and it's a very simple program that kids can go out and gather acorns, do their own sprouting in the classroom, and grow their own trees in the classroom, and then take some responsibility to go out and replant. And it would cost about $50 in materials per school to do this sort of thing. So we're starting that program this fall with a couple of schools in the county. So this was very unexpected, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your passion.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Called Angelo Oak Seed. Mm-hmm.
How about your wife? Come on. Since you're doing all this labor, all right, there we go.
She doesn't think I'm nuts. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It certainly is something that generations will appreciate. Yeah. What a wonderful spirit he must have, yeah. Okay, thank you, Supervisor. And now we go to item 19. And this is going to approve our retiree health benefits program rates and contracts. And good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Chairperson Long, board members, Mrs. Robinson. My name is Harold Pierce, Director of Benefits, along with Susan DeMille, Manager of Benefits.
Morning.
Your approval is requested of the 2011 retiree medical rates, administrative fees, and HCP plan addition. This program consists of non-Medicare and Medicare eligible participants. Last month, your board approved the non-Medicare rate
which was blended with the active rate. This creates a implicit liability under GASB, since the true cost for retirees could be much higher if they were rated separately. The active employee rate could be slightly lower since they subsidize the retirees. In regards to Medicare eligible participants, board approval is requested of the 2011 rates as shown in Exhibit 1. Also requested is VCHCP Medicare Plan Addition to be added as an option. I'd like to turn it over to Susan for a brief overview of the plan.
VCHCP has put together a new Medicare Coordination of Benefit HMO plan for retirees and their dependents who are enrolled in both Medicare A and Medicare B. The participants would keep their Medicare. Medicare would be billed first, and then the new Coordination of Benefits HMO plan is billed second and works with Medicare, and the member simply pays small co-payments for most of the services.
Okay, this option was discussed at the labor management meeting, and after some discussion, HR Benefits agreed to review the impact and ramification of opening up this plan to all retirees. It is also recommended that county administrative fees be based on actual costs instead of a flat rate. Retiree dental participation is bundled with active, which was approved at the September 14th meeting. Open for questions.
Other questions?
Are we, who's primary, the Medicare or we are?
Under the new VCHCP Medicare HMO, Medicare would be primary,
And then the VCHCP.
and the health plan would be secondary.
Okay.
Question?
You both reviewed this, went through it. You've been in this business for a long time, understanding cost. You're comfortable with this?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Because I know, the cost, I was talking to Mike about this earlier today, that it can get a little costly, and but you're comfortable that we have this under control?
Yeah, that's why we are proceeding very carefully with opening up this plan to open enrollment, because right now the plan is limited to current retirees who are in our sponsored plans.
Right. Okay. So at least we have some understanding of who those people are and
correct
what our risk is.
Yes.
Yeah.
We currently offer several other Medicare plan options to retirees. One is with Kaiser, which is a Medicare replacement. Then we offer two plans with HealthNet. One is a similar Medicare Coordination of Benefits HMO to what VCHCP is proposing. And they also offer a HealthNet FlexNet plan, which works with Medicare where there is no HMO area, out of state and in-state without an HMO, and it gives them a little more freedom of choice of providers. So if we were to introduce the Ventura County Healthcare COB HMO, it would allow a new network of providers as an option for retirees with Medicare.
Right. But with those other plans, have we been able to gather any experience on those programs to understand how they're running with our current base, our family?
We do have the experience with HealthNet. We don't have it with Kaiser.
You don't have with Kaiser? Okay. And so you're trying to, it's really just looking like almost Kaiser lookalike with an HMO. We get the opportunity to control our own costs and things.
It's similar, except
similar.
Kaiser's a senior advantage plan, so they actually replace Medicare. It's never billed,
Right.
and they assume the full cost and then get some dollars from Medicare.
Yeah, I'm a little more comfortable with this wraparound type situation. It's a full replacement. A lot of insurance companies lost their shirt on that, as you know. It was very, very expensive. And we're taking on the most expensive health care, which is, as we age. Okay, I understand.
Mr. Pierce, you made a comment that this was taken to the labor management group and that there's been agreement to do a study. So I assume the study will be prospective of what impact this may have to...
Correct.
Okay. And it will do exactly what? And here's my concern. My concern is we're going to open this up, and it'll be very difficult to pull it back.
Well, that's correct. That's why we are approaching it very cautiously, and the study will review the impact on the ramification on our administrative ability to handle a plan like this, as well as the cost of these programs.
And will the study be 1 year, 2 years, a period of time that gives you a real read on that?
No, we're still evaluating that at this time. This just came up, this plan was recently approved by managed care less than 6 weeks ago, so we're still digesting it. Right now, the key is to get it implemented for our existing retiree population.
Understand. Other questions?
Your concern on it, though. The idea that we can't close the plan at some point, we'd be able to do that, though, wouldn't we? Just like anybody else would say, I'm done offering this program if it's
Yeah, the key is that when you open up a plan like this, understand only about 10% of our retirees are in our medical plans.
Right.
So we're looking at opening up a program to 90% of a retiree population of 5,000 to 6,000 participants. So we have to proceed very carefully.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't
So
quite
you're
understand that.
So you're opening the staged approach is the people the 10% who are currently in the system.
Correct, the existing participants.
So you're not moving to the rest of everybody who's retired as potential members of the system.
No, not at this time.
Until you evaluate what happens with the 10%.
Correct. With that, as well as the potential impact of having an open enrollment. To my knowledge, this plan has never allowed open enrollment, so we're going to proceed very carefully.
Madam Chair? If I could ask, if we were a number of years down the road and we decided to end this program, what do we do with people and the illnesses that they have at the time? So we say, hey, we're not going to renew this program. Would we close it to new people but still have those people stay? Or would we at some point in time end their coverage if that was going to happen? And if that's the case, what would happen with their ongoing treatments if somebody was in the middle of?
Well, it would be similar to by eliminating one provider and going to a new one. We have transition of care provisions that will kick into place. But it would be the same as several years ago when we switched from Pacific Care to Health Net.
So the people would have to switch to some other provider, and their treatment would be covered by a new provider then?
Yeah, the transition care provisions to handle that.
What is the timeline on the evaluation?
We haven't set a timeline. This just came up. We discussed at the last labor management. That was last week, and we told them that we would get back to them after open enrollment is completed to figure out what's the best way to approach this and how to approach it.
And with claim lag is what they call it. Typically, it takes 18 months to get a true value of the first 12 months of experience in order to determine where we start. So my estimate is it's going to take at least 18 months before we even have 1 year experience in this new plan.
Okay, so 18 months would probably be the
And the problem is 1 year, you can't use 1 year as your only, that could be a normal year. So, are we going to mirror some other benefits? Are our benefits going to be any different than what's already offered?
The Ventura County Healthcare COB HMO is very similar in most of the benefits to the one that HealthNet currently offers. They do have a different prescription coverage that includes coverage for non-formulary drugs, so in that respect it is really better than the HealthNet prescription coverage under their plan. Some of the co-payments differ, but they are primarily very similar in style.
The difference with the prescription, which can be very expensive, is it going to be required that a doctor must say you need this non-formulary, or can anybody just get off the non-formulary if they want? I mean,
they do have provisions in place that the treating provider has to be a licensed provider who can
I understand that, but I meant that there is a reason why they want this versus our non-formulary. I mean, there's part of that is that, as you know, we get off formulary, it gets very expensive and to do that. So.
I honestly don't know how they administer the non-formulary, but it has significantly higher co-payment, so there is a bigger cost share feature.
So there's some deterrence to getting off. Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Then there's no request for public comment. It's before the board.
Move the recommended action.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes unanimously, and thank you for the work on this, and
Thank you very much.
I think this is a significant move. Thank you. Okay, board members, the remainder of our items are closed session. We will go into closed session. Do we expect an announcement, Mr. Legal Counsel?
Madam Chair, we do not expect any announcements.
Okay, then we'll go into closed session, adjourn from closed session, completes our regular agenda, and we'll be back here next Tuesday. And thank you.